The Foggy River weighs in at 42 feet long, her beam is 11.5 feet, and she has a draft of 3.5 feet, and was built in 1961 at the Reedville Marine Railway. She's a deadrise, in other words, a V-bottom with cross-planking, open boat with a small cabin forward, which is typical to some degree of those still seen today. She has a distinctively graceful sheer, an unusually pronounced but attractive flare to her sides near the bow, and a round stern. These characteristics, with the possible exception of the flare and her length, were common in the mid-20th century, and except for the round stern, precursors of later designs. The stern is of chunk construction, meaning that the curve is accomplished by shaping pieces of wood 2 feet long and 3 inches thick, laid horizontally like bricks. This design permitted the boat to lie stern to the sea more comfortably while working than a square or box stern boat, but this construction became too complex and expensive in later years. The Foggy River is very much a Reedville product. Her design was a collaborative effort between two local residents, her owner, Charles Bowles, and her builder, George P. Butler, the second of the 3 generations of the family to own and operate the Reedville Marine Railway. As was and is the custom at the shop, there were no plans on paper, just discussions prior to and during the construction as the boat took shape. The materials for the project were cut locally from timberland owned by the Lillian Lumber Company, which in turn sawed the logs to Mr. Butler's specifications. The boards were then stacked to dry in a shed where Mr. Bowles lived on Cockrell's Creek. Charles Bowles was the captain of a Menhaden boat, and like many of his colleagues, worked the water in other ways when the Menhaden season closed. The Foggy River became the means for him to generate some income for most of the year, although not as much as he made as a Menhaden captain. She was designed and initially used to fish pound nets in the spring and early summer. Later she was modified with a larger engine and other gear to go crab dredging, which is particularly demanding on boats and watermen. The activity is pursued in the winter when crabs are dug into the mud in the lower portion of the bay. Captain Bowles initially pulled a single dredge, 8 feet wide, but then, with an even larger engine, went to 2 6-foot dredges. It is likely that the Foggy River also was used for oystering and working crab pots, as she, like all other workboats, could be modified for a variety of activities. When he retired from the water, Captain Bowles sold the Foggy River to be used for recreational gill netting. Then she was discovered by George Verlander of Montrose, lying unused at the head of a creek off the Coratoman River. He bought her and used her commercially on the Potomac River until the engine failed. Then he donated her to the museum. The Foggy River is currently a restoration project used by the museum so that she can exhibit the different equipment and rigging used in pound net fishing, crab dredging, oystering, and crab potting.